Joining us now from Baltimore is ranking member of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, Congressman Elijah Cummings. Congressman, it's great to see you.
It's good to be with you.
Congressman, let's talk first about Darrell Issa's tenacious pursuit of the Attorney General. And I wonder what you make of, now that we have this civil lawsuit on the table, what do you make of Minority Leader Pelosi's comments that this is part of a broader agenda to undermine the efforts of the Department of Justice?
I believe that she's absolutely right. I've watched this investigation now for more than as a ranking member of Government Reform Committee. And one of the things that I've noticed is that there has been a constant series of allegations in search of facts. And every time one of those allegations was disproved by the Attorney General turning over all kinds of documents and emails, the Chairman Issa then moved to a new allegation and a request for new documents. And it's gone on and on. And in a way, I'm kind of glad that this thing is going to a court, because finally now we have a clear set of what they want. And so we now have a set goalposts that we can address. But again, I think this has been a fishing expedition, and it's interesting that you're tying these two issues together. That is the investigation with regard to Fast and Furious, and this issue with regard to what I deem to be voter suppression, because I do believe that there is voter suppression involved in these 37 states that have passed laws similar to Pennsylvania.
But do you think that Congressman Issa's pursuit of the Attorney General is directly related to the Attorney General and the Department of Justice's investigation into some of these instances of voter fraud?
Trying to make those kinds of assumptions, I don't want to do what Chairman Issa does, that is make these broad allegations. But let me say that Senator Cornyn made it clear, of Texas, made it clear that one of the reasons why they wanted the Attorney General to resign is because they didn't like the idea of him not enforcing these so-called voter fraud, anti-voter fraud laws. And so, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, come on, this is not coincidental that 37 states put forth laws to basically require all types of ID, when in fact it is not a problem in the United States. And the thing that bothers me about this whole voter suppression thing, as I term it, is that we've been a country that has been about the business of making sure people gain rights, not take rights away from them. And so it wouldn't surprise me if this is a part of the Republican playbook.
Congressman, I have to ask you, we started to hear shades of this line of attack in the last few weeks on the part of Republicans in terms of the White House withholding and the notion that they invoked executive privilege over some of these documents related to the Fast and Furious investigation. I wonder if you think that sort of complicated the message insofar as it gave fodder to the argument that the White House is engaged in some sort of cover-up vis-a-vis Fast and Furious.
No, I think that the situation here is, and everybody who knows anything about the Attorney General's office knows that, and the presidency knows that the president can assert privilege over various documents. And the documents that we're talking about here are certain deliberative documents that are basically internal to the department when they're responding to various issues. And by the way, one of the things that's very interesting about this is that the Attorney General has been extremely cooperative with Chairman Issa, and I think that's what's so upsetting about this to me personally. To watch him, and I just saw the clip that you played, where we've got this chairman speaking to the highest law enforcement officer in the country, basically chastising him, when in fact this Attorney General has bent over backwards trying to cooperate, but the Republicans just don't want to accept yes for an answer. Well, finally, hopefully by this court proceeding going forward, we'll be able to resolve this matter.
Congressman Sam Stein from the Huffington Post has a question for you.
Devil's advocate for a second on the issue of voter suppression. People listen to this conversation and say, you need an ID to do a lot of things in this country. You need to buy, alcohol, you need to buy tobacco, you need to go into government buildings, you need to drive a car. What exactly is the problem with showing some form of identification to actually cast a vote?
I think there's nothing wrong with showing identification. It's just that we've got a situation in Pennsylvania where it's been shown that 9.2% of all the voters don't have this identification right now. And then if you don't have it and you need to get it, if you're not in a position to get a driver's license, then you've got to show a birth certificate with the raised seal. You've got to show all kinds of other documents to get this. And there's been a lot of testimony, Sam, where people have said that they've been voting for 50 years, and now suddenly, after President Obama wins in these various states, then suddenly people are saying, oh, Ms. Jones, you can't vote, although you're 83 years old. And the question is what is the problem? See, it's one thing if we're going to have laws to address a true problem, but as a most recent report just came out a day ago or so ago, clearly stated that there's maybe one case of voter fraud for every 15 million Americans. And so the question is do you jeopardize people's right to vote? Do you cause them to have to sit to the side and not participate? Let me tell you, there are two things that are happening here. I think this election is, first of all, we've got people trying to suppress, that is, Republicans trying to suppress the vote, and the other things, we've got folks trying to buy the election. And I believe with all my heart, and it saddens me to say this, that on our watch, we are seeing democracy slowly but surely being taken apart because the voters' vote is diluted by this ability to spend all this money by these rich people. And when you suppress the vote by telling people that they've got to go through 50 million changes to be able to cast a ballot, then what you've done is basically attack the very essence of our democracy, and that is the vote.
Congressman, I want to ask you one last question before we have to let you go. You've worked with Congressman Paul Ryan, for over a decade, and what is your opinion of Mitt Romney choosing him to be his vice presidential pick?
I think that we've got a situation where we've got, well, Ryan is a good guy. He's a very smart guy. I just disagree with him. His budget is one that would basically decimate the middle class, would be very harmful to the students that are in my district trying to get Pell Grants, and Medicare. I mean, what he does with regard to Medicare should be of concern to anybody who thinks they might get a little older.
Was the mood in Congress one of surprise when the pick was announced?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised because I knew this was going to happen. You got to remember that before this Tea Party crowd came along, he could barely get a vote for that proposal. And the reason why he could barely get a vote for that proposal out of his Republican Party is because they knew it was too far to the right. It is over the cliff to the right. And I guarantee you that's going to play a very significant role, not only in the presidential election, but I now have a lot of hope that we'll be able to take the House back based upon that one selection.
Congressman Elijah Cummings, thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
After the break, scorched earth and scorched earth